Welcome back, everyone. It is Eric from Rare Candy, and today I'm back with round 3 of the recent League Challenge that I got to go attend over at Cape Fear Collectibles in Wilmington, North Carolina. So if you guys did miss it, I already did upload rounds 1 and 2 with the 4th round coming soon as well. And I'll be sure to have all of these linked down below in the description if you do want to see the rest of this tournament. But here in round 3, we have the Mew VMAX deck. This is going to be like the DTE version of Mew over on the left, played by Brady Bussert. And we also have Lost Tina over on the right, played by Lincoln Tucker. Obviously, I think a big key card in here that could swing this matchup, of course, is going to be the Drapion V, since of course Drapion can take those free KOs on Mew VMAX. But of course, Brady still has cards like Path to the Peak, Judge, etc., which are still really good against these different Lost Zone based decks. So we'll have to see which of these strategies is ultimately going to come out on top here. And it looks like Lincoln is going to get to go first, and he has pretty much the perfect start so far. He's opening up with Comfy, which of course is going to be his ideal starter, and already has a Battle VIP pass in hand, which of course is going to allow him to grab 2 basics and put them directly onto his bench. Right there you can see he is going to be able to get down the first Giratina V of the game here. He definitely wants to get these guys up and evolved before Mew can pick it off with cards like Boss's Orders. We also have a Radiant Greninja coming down using that Concealed Cards ability to be able to discard an energy from his hand and draw 2 cards. And it's hard to get a good look at Lincoln's hand, but, you know, Pokemon-wise, he is definitely doing great here. At this point, he's just going to be looking for, I think, energy and switching cards to be able to keep this turn sort of chugging along here at this point. Okay, and he does have a switch card, so I would imagine we will see, yeah, we're going to see him switch into another Comfy to use that flower selecting ability. So, of course, he does get to look at the top 2 cards of his deck. He gets to keep one, put the other into the Lost Zone. Unfortunately, he did have to Lost Zone 2 energies back to back here. Usually not probably your favorite things to get rid of with a Lost Zone deck, but after that, just going to pass over to Brady here. So looks like Brady is going to open up with a Mew V. That's definitely his ideal starter here. And he's just going to grab a Genesect V onto the bench to get going here. And he definitely has some other ways to draw some more cards here. He has the 4 Sealstone in hand. He is going to, looks like, just burn that right out the gate here. To be able to search his deck for any card, most likely going for that Battle VIP pass, and yeah, he's just going to instantly play that to find himself a few more Pokemon here. So there's going to be, looks like, a Mew V and another Genesect V, so his board is starting to get set up pretty well here. And I think if possible, I think Brady's ideal board is going to be probably 3 Mew V and 3 Genesect V. So ideally, I think that's what I'd like to see him end his turn with at some point here. Okay, there's going to be a double Turbo Energy coming down. And, you know, he could play one of these Ultra Balls and start drawing through his deck a little bit more at this point. So here he's going to pitch away an Ultra Ball and a Lost Vacuum, keeping that Boss's Orders for next turn, just in case Lincoln doesn't actually evolve this Giratina. He will be able to take an easy 2-prize KO on that thing more than likely. Oh, but there's going to be a Mew VMAX. That's pretty interesting here. So it looks like he just wants to hang on to it until the next turn, just to guarantee it to be ready to go. But he's going to use another Genesect V. So, of course, he does draw until he has cards in his hand equal to the amount of Fusion Strike Pokemon he has in play. But there's going to be a Cramomatic discarding an Ultra Ball. And it looks like that might have been a Heads. I can't quite tell. Okay, it must have been a Tails on the Cramomatic since he isn't actually searching his deck here. And then going to use another Genesect. And he does find himself in Iono, so he could actually use that since we actually haven't seen a supporter from Brady just yet, but he has the Mew VMAX in hand, so I kind of wouldn't mind seeing him save that. But he is going to play the Iono, and I will say the upside to this, even though he is going to be losing his evolution, he will be able to maybe find himself a Path to the Peak, which definitely could be a good card to get down to shut off that Radiant Greninja, and maybe make it a little bit more difficult on Lincoln to get set up on this next turn. And there is going to be that Path to the Peak, shutting off abilities for Pokemon with a rule box. Okay, so Lincoln's going to kick things off with a flower selecting, getting rid of Roxanne. Definitely not a card that is too useful at this point in the game. Okay, there is going to be a Nest Ball. Could see a Cramorant come down, maybe just to soften up this Mew V. Now, if I see correctly, I think actually Lincoln's Drapion might be prized here. I'm pretty sure he does play one in his list, and if that's the case, that is pretty bad. Not that he really wants to use it on this turn in particular, but just trying to figure out what his path to victory is. But the Cramorant is still pretty good. He can soften up this Mew V. That way, Giratina VSTAR can come in with a Lost Impact to potentially finish it off on a future turn. But there's going to be the Beach Court that is not only going to reduce his Pokemon's retreat cost by 1, but also it is going to allow him to now get access again to that ability on Radiant Greninja that the Path to the Peak was previously shutting off. So there's going to be the concealed cards, drawing 2 more. And I don't think we've seen a Colress yet from Lincoln. That's definitely the big card he's really been lacking so far in this game. So it looks like there is indeed going to be a switch into the Cramorant. Again, probably just to soften up this Mew V. Seems good. And kicking things back over to Brady here. Now he does have another Path to the Peak, which he can bump that Beach Court with if he does so choose to do so. So there's going to be a Feather Ball. So of course he gets to search his deck for a Pokemon with a 0 retreat cost. So that is actually going to find him that Mew VMAX he just put at the bottom of his deck with the Iono on the previous turn. And so here he is going for an Ultra Ball, getting rid of a Mew V, it appears. I honestly don't know how I feel about that. I really want to see him keep the Mew. Okay. But he's going to get rid of a Mew and a Path to the Peak. But he does have another Mew in deck, so that's good at least. So he definitely could get that down. But it looks like he just wants to get another Mew VMAX. But the reason I want to see him get another Mew V down is because against these different Lost Zone decks, part of the way you play around Drapion is by using the Psychic Leap attack on Mew to take cheap KOs and shuffle Mew back into your deck. And so you always kind of want 2 extra Mews in play in case your opponent has a way to, knock out one of the ones that is remaining. So let's see what Brady is going to do here. He does have some damage modifiers, so if he can find himself a boss's orders, he will be able to knock out this Giratina V, which would be really big. Okay, so there is going to be another few cards he's going to see with Genesect V. But here, looks like he is going to use an Avery. He's not going to be able to use a boss's orders, but he will get to draw 3 more cards, and it will force Lincoln to discard his bench Pokemon until he only has 3 remaining. And so at this point, looks like Brady's debating if he wants to actually retreat this Mew VMAX. And this definitely does seem pretty decent just because this would now sort of force Lincoln to have a Drapion if he wanted to take a one-shot here. Because moving this damage Mew out of play means that Lincoln will need to get Giratina VSTAR plus a Choice Belt if he does want a way to actually knock out this Mew VMAX. And a lot of these Giratina decks don't even play any damage modifiers like that, so more than likely, again, barring a Drapion coming down, this active Mew VMAX is going to be safe for a turn. But we did see Lincoln actually find a Colress's Experiment, definitely a card he has been hunting down this whole time, so of course that's going to be probably the main way he wants to get these cards into the Lost Zone, where he gets to look at the top 5 cards of his deck. He keeps 3, puts the other 2 into the Lost Zone. But he really just wants to start being able to use cards like Mirage Gate. But let's see, that is kind of an unfortunate flower selecting. He already had to get rid of 1 Mirage Gate, and that's a second one going down. So that is definitely probably not ideal for him. But he still has 2 left in his deck to potentially power up his Pokemon with. But there's going to be a Nest Ball. What's he actually going to find here? Looks like there is going to be a Sableye. So it looks like, if I'm seeing his dice correctly, it looks like he has 8 cards in the Lost Zone right now. So I'm not sure if he can actually use the Sableye this turn. But here he is going to Mirage Gate. So maybe setting up for a Moonlight Shuriken play on the Greninja. Okay, but he is choosing to power up the Giratina V that does kind of signal to me he does have a Giratina VSTAR. Okay, but there's going to be... Looks like he's debating about using the Concealed Cards ability on Greninja. But here he is going to get rid of the Jet Energy, saving the Psychic Energy, knowing that he probably wants it for Sableye on future turns. But there's going to be the Switch card into the Giratina V. And there's the VSTAR as well. So this gives him a little bit more HP, and it's definitely going to make it a little bit more challenging for Mew to take a knockout. But here he is going to use that Lost Impact attack, doing 280 damage and sending 2 energy into the Lost Zone in the process. So next turn, if this Giratina doesn't go down, he is threatening a Star Requiem for an instant KO with that VSTAR power. But let's see what Brady's going to do, and he does actually have quite a few damage modifiers, so more than likely this Giratina is actually going to go down here. But there's going to be a Cram-O-Matic, discarding Battle VIP Pass. That's like the perfect card to discard with Cram, since you do have to discard an item. And it looks like Brady did flip tails since he is not actually searching his deck. But there's going to be the double Power Tablets, and I believe he does already have a Choice Belt in play as well. And there is going to be a Judge, it appears. So he is going to be able to reset Lincoln's hand over there down to just 4 cards. And getting a KO on top of that would be big. The only other card I think he really wants to find to complete his Wombo combo here is probably going to be a Path to the Peak to maybe make it a little bit more difficult for Lincoln to see a few more cards. But the other card I really want to see on Brady's turn here is probably another Mew V, just because both of these Mew VMAXs are a little bit beat up at this point. But there's going to be a Genesect. I can't say I'm a big fan of Brady getting this one down. Again, I think that last bench spot really did need to be saved for another Mew V. But you know what? If he can judge Lincoln here into kind of a dead hand, take a couple KOs without Lincoln being able to respond very easily, you know, this could still wind up paying off. And I'm not sure if Brady's running a Collapsed Stadium in his deck, but that could be an alternate way he could get this extra Genesect off the field at some point too. And just a second ago, it kind of looks like he signaled he was retreating into Genesect and just switching back to the active with Switch Cart, and just didn't go through like the physical action of moving the Mew. Looks like they are just debating, I guess, how much damage he's doing, or maybe they're debating if he used Technoblast last turn. Not exactly sure. It looked like they were talking about something having to do with the Mew VMAX there. But okay, looks like they resolved whatever that was, and so Brady is going to take a knockout on this Giratina VSTAR, going down to just 3 prize cards remaining. So it looks like that Flower Selecting, he is going to pitch away a Jet Energy. There's going to be a Courses Experiment, so the Judge did not stick here. Lincoln was able to find a way to draw out of this, and here he is going to toss away a Battle VIP Pass. That's definitely good, but he did have to toss away another Courses Experiment, which feels kind of bad knowing that your hand's probably going to be disrupted most turns against this Mew VMAX deck. So you normally want every last draw supporter possible to make sure you can always draw cards on future turns. But it looks like Lincoln does finally have 10 cards in the Lost Zone, which means he can use that Lost Mine attack on Sableye to spread 12 damage counters. So he is going to knock out that Mew that was previously damaged by the Lost Impact, and now softening up this other Mew VMAX that's in play too. So it looks like Brady has a lot of cards he is, you know, thinking about using here. There's going to be another Cram-O-Matic, so maybe this one will finally work. He's been striking out, and it looks like it does work, so he is going to be able to search his deck for a card. Again, most likely a Mew V in this instance, so that seems good. But again, this is really where I think Brady needed to have gotten another Mew in play, because I think Brady might consider going for a Psychic Leap play this turn. That doesn't seem bad to me, just because it does sort of take a Drapion play away from just winning the game. But the issue is he's only going to leave himself with a lone Mew V in play at that point, if that is the route he's going to go. And it looks like that is indeed what he's going to do here. He is going to use Psychic Leap to shuffle that Mew back into his deck. And here you can see he's debating promoting his last remaining Mew V. And this is a little bit greedy, I have to admit, because if Lincoln has the Drapion, that's basically game over right there. So I think he absolutely has to promote a Genesect. And yeah, this is definitely the correct move over here. I just kind of wish we would have seen something like a Roxanne or a Judge or something like that from Brady on that last turn. But let's see how Lincoln is going to respond on this turn. And there's the Drapion V. So he must have ripped that off the prizes last turn, which is really big here. So if he has Boss's Orders, this is basically game over at this point, because he'll be able to easily knock out the Mew V for 0 energy. Since that Path to the Peak is not in play, Drapion's ability will be active. And here is the Boss Orders. And I think this is kind of a checkmate scenario. So now he can knock out this Mew, for 0 energy, taking a free 2 prize cards. And now everything else on Brady's board can be knocked out by Drapion on this next turn. The only thing he can really do to prevent this would be getting down something like an Oricorio. But that feels kind of bad if he does do that, because then Sableye can just pick off the Oricorio for his final prize. But yeah, I think Brady might have played himself into a little bit of a corner at this point in the game, unfortunately. But if he does have the Oricorio, I'm not sure if he does run that, but if he does, that will still give him a fighting chance in this game. So he does have Boss's Orders, so he also could maybe consider going for like a Hail Mary Boss Orders play to try to strand the Giratina V. But there's going to be a Nest Ball. We're not seeing anything coming down, so I'm assuming he doesn't play the Oricorio. Otherwise, it would have just hit the field here. What can Brady do to finally, try to claw his way back in this game? So there's going to be a Forest Sealstone coming down, just going to play it to thin his hand probably. But there's going to be Palpad as well, so that is going to allow him to get 2 supporters, or up to 2 supporters from his discard back into his deck. So it looks like he is going to go for that Iono, maybe to put Lincoln down to just a single card. So the one thing he also could do here, even though he doesn't have the Oricorio, if he can Path to the Peak and shut off the ability on Drapion V, which is really the thing that makes Drapion such a threat here. If he can do that, then, he might be able to buy himself a turn. Like if he can go Iono, well, he already bossed, so he can't do that now. But if he was able to Iono Lincoln to 1 and Path him, that would have been pretty devastating. But unfortunately, still no Path to the Peak. I think that is going to be a big card he's going to need here. There's going to be a Lost Vacuum. Looks like getting rid of the Iono to get rid of that Beach Court in play. And now Brady does still have a couple of other Genesects he can use, so he just really needs to find Path at this point. But I'm not sure how many he's gone through, so we'll have to see if he does have another one still hiding in his deck somewhere. So he has, looks like 1 Genesect left. And unfortunately, it just finds him a DTE and a Choice Belt. So I think that is going to be the game. And there's going to be the Switch Cart as well to just switch back into Drapion and take the final KO. So even though Brady was kind of in the driver's seat for the first bit of that game, it instantly sort of spun around there once that Drapion was found off the prizes. But with that being said, guys, there is still one more round of this league challenge. So like I said at the beginning of this video, if you do want to see that one, in addition to all of the other rounds from this tournament, I will have those linked down below in the description as soon as they are live. But if you guys did enjoy today's content, as always, remember to smack that like button for me. Or if you're feeling maybe a little extra generous, you can also become a patron at patreon.com/rarecandytcg or pick up some merch at rarecandytcg.com. But as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.